Okay, we are rolling. We are rolling, brother. Champions of Champions boxing talk here. Now, this is the big breakdown, isn't it? In the big welterweight clash between Keith one-time Thurman and Manny Pacquiao, which is coming up in just over a few weeks' time now. It will be box office in America and now is box office in the UK on ITV. A bit surprised at that, but there you go. So, basically, in boxing, when you make a prediction, never be surprised when you're right, but always be prepared to be wrong. Because after all, this is boxing. You play other sports. You play football, you play basketball. You don't play boxing. Everybody and anyone has a chance. If you can throw a punch in that ring with authority, technique, and a certain amount of talent, you have a chance. On to the breakdown. This is going to be a rather epic one. My insurance policy in this fight is to say, first of all, and I've said this in previous videos regarding Manny Pacquiao. I've said in subsequent videos, my insurance policy on his predictions are, someday, somehow age is going to finally catch up. Father Time is undefeated. We haven't seen so far Manny Pacquiao deteriorate to such a level where Father Time has kicked in yet, right? It could be the 20th of July. It could be. It could have been his last fight. It could have been the fight before that, etc. You know where I'm going. You know what I'm saying. So far, though, he is still a top-level performer. World class. Right? No question. He has beaten so far since losing to Floyd Mayweather, Timothy Bradley. Pound-for-pound fighter. Jesse Vargas was a top 10 welterweight at the time and a champion. Really, I think he beat Jeff Horn in Australia. Then he stopped Lucas Batiste, right? Didn't go to points. He didn't look nervous and try and play chess to get a decision against a dangerous puncher. He went and did to Lucas Batiste what Batiste does to other opponents. And he retired Lucas Batiste. Right? The thing that Keith Thurman says he's going to do to Pacquiao, Pacquiao has already done that to somebody recently. And that's Lucas Batiste. Retired him. Adrian Broner. Yes, it was a more physical battle with Marcus Maidana and Adrian Broner than it was with Manny Pacquiao. But Adrian Broner also landed more shots on Marcus Maidana than he did on Manny Pacquiao. Adrian Broner's punch output and punch connection rate was so small because Pacquiao is a more rounded fighter than Chino Maidana. It's just a fact, in my opinion, right? So, Keith one-time Thurman and Manny Pacquiao square off. There is a fighter in this fight who is the current WBA welterweight champion. There is a fighter in this match that has fantastic footwork. There is a fighter in this match with a recent knockout to his credit. There is a fighter in this match that, is a current welterweight star. The other guy's Keith Thurman. You thought I was going to say Keith Thurman, didn't you? The other guy is Keith Thurman. Because I'm telling you, Keith Thurman is a good fighter. Top quality fighter. But presuming Manny Pacquiao doesn't get old overnight, I think Manny Pacquiao can defeat Keith Thurman. Right? There are a few variations in this fight, obviously. Which Keith Thurman turns up. But we have to go and have a look at prime Keith Thurman. Had close calls with both Sean Porter and Danny Garcia. I scored it 8-4 Keith Thurman, when he faced Danny Garcia. I actually scored the Porter fight very close as well. That fight could have gone either way, in my opinion. And that was Keith Thurman without a 2-year layoff and coming off a thudding, difficult victory against Josecito Lopez. Right? Keith Thurman, the version that fought Lopez, loses this fight conclusively. Right? But I'm expecting him to be a bit better. How could you not be? Surely he's had a better training camp at this point now. But there are a few things that are worrying me about Keith Thurman that could play major roles in this fight. First of all, I don't really know how Keith Thurman trains regular, but I'm seeing him on exercise bikes. I'm seeing him throwing balls against the wall. I'm seeing his hand speed looking rather slow on heavy bags. I'm seeing Keith Thurman being tagged in short clips by sparring partners. This is concerning for me. People are saying that Keith Thurman is calling people's bluff. I hope he is for his sake, right? Maybe he is. Maybe he is behind the scenes looking tremendous. But it makes you wonder why the odds have changed. Why Pacquiao is now the favourite. Do the insiders know something that many of us boxing fans don't? Is Keith Thurman still the one that beat Danny Garcia and Sean Porter? Even if he is, he could struggle with Manny Pacquiao. Because Pacquiao is at least on their level. At least. Let's compare Danny Garcia. Yes, Danny Garcia has youth. Danny Garcia is an excellent counterpuncher, but Danny Garcia's feet are slow. He expects you to go to him so he can do his work effectively. Right? Manny Pacquiao still has faster feet and faster hands to close space down than Danny Garcia. So style-wise, it's a different proposition. But Pacquiao still is a tremendous counterpuncher. It was like the saying, when Manny Pacquiao is on, he's not a good counterpuncher, he is a great counterpuncher. Let's look at Sean Porter. Sean Porter is a mauling brawler, a thinking man's mauling brawler. He takes you into the trenches, or at least he did when he fought Thurman. He takes you into trenches, he takes you into the heat, he takes you into war, and then it's up to you how you deal with it. Can you keep up with it, or will he break you down, right? But his feet are quick, and he is sudden. His hands are pretty quick, but they're not as quick as Manny's. I still don't think his feet are quite as quick as Manny. What they do have in common is they are both sudden. But notice in the Sean Porter fight, Keith Thurman was refusing when they were close in the exchanges in phone booth territory to hold and clinch Sean Porter. Had that been Floyd Mayweather, Porter would have been clinched multiple times before he could get his success, right? Keith Thurman kept refusing to doing so. But Sean Porter has the same problem that sometimes Ricky Hatton fell into. He smothers his own work, right? And it is kind of face first, straight at you, basically. Manny Pacquiao is a much cleaner technician and operator. He will be close, sudden, but move from left to right, and he won't smother his own work. He'll want enough space so he can effectively use the hand speed and potentially nail you a close punching power. Keith Thurman is talking about things like T-Rex arms. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Let me just say this. When somebody has short arms and they get close and they're sudden to you and you don't clinch, you are in trouble because a longer-armed fighter needs to get extension. Pacquiao can get full extension on his punch close and hurt you. You may not think he can hurt you from that range, but because his arms are kind of short, he can get full purchase while he's rather close. And he can punch up close from stranger angles than Sean Porter can. Pacquiao moves in odd angles, it's hard to predict. And he punches the same in strange angles, it's also hard to predict. The problem I see for Keith Thurman is when it does get to the ropes, if he does not hold, he's going to face speed, aggressiveness and technique, unlike what he's faced in his two other previous top-class opponents, right? That is just my take on that perspective. And if he refuses to clinch, which Robert Garcia said, the frustrating thing about fighters, the trainer Robert Garcia, the frustrating thing about fighters is you can teach them new tricks in training camp, but then they go in the ring fight night and they're the same fighter. We may see Keith Thurman clinch successfully until he gets hit. They all have a plan till they get hit. But if Pacquiao is close to Thurman and Thurman is refusing to clinch and firing back, he may find himself being beaten to the punch by the guy with the shorter arms and the faster hand speed. Pacquiao will have opportunity close as well to go to the body. And that good movement that Thurman has can be slowed down by body shots. Pacquiao is a better body puncher than he's given credit for. We've seen him break Adrian Broner at times with body work. Adrian Broner nearly keeled over with them body shots. And Broner is more sturdy to the body than Keith Thurman. Yes, he is. Before you say anything, yes, he is. Adrian Broner's chin is probably better than Keith Thurman's. Yes, it possibly is. Adrian Broner is a more natural survivor and defensive guy than Keith Thurman. Oh, yes, he is. Right? Thurman will try and win, but when he's trying to win, he opens himself up, doesn't he? Broner never did that. Broner was surviving. Lucas Matisse has more power than Adrian Broner. Lucas Matisse is probably more deadly than Adrian Broner, but Pacquiao stopped him. Didn't stop Broner. So, going for triangle theories in this instance, you may fall flat on your face with that, right? You have to remember as well, Adrian Broner's neck is kind of absorbed into his shoulders. Those sort of fighters generally do have naturally good chins. Thurman's neck is kind of long, right? When Thurman is also boxing on his back foot, his power is not as strong. Thurman has to make a statement in that sense. If he is constantly on the back foot throughout this fight, it is going to look like he is running away from a smaller 40-year-old fighter. That does not transcend well to the broader public, win or lose, right? But as for Keith Thurman's behaviour, number one, he's been acting out of character. Yes, he generally is brash, but he's been more brash in this training camp. Saying everything from, I hope Pacquiao's family is there to see this. I'm going to retire Manny Pacquiao. He's got T-Rex arms. He reads the Bible, so I'm going to crucify him, blah, blah, blah. Marcus Vegas of Fight Hub. Thurman was more or less brawling with the guy, talking, grabbing hold of the guy physically, losing his mind, right? Now, could this all be a ploy? Yes, but I've seen Keith Thurman, using his trash talk before, but never like this. It spells to me that he's nervous. That he is nervous, right? At the end of the day, when that bell goes for the first round, 40 years of age or not, you know the other side of the ring looking at you is Manny Pacquiao. That is a pretty scary prospect. And Tim Bradley said a few years ago, it can absorb some of your energy. Because Keith Thurman is saying all of this stuff. At first, I was concerned that Manny Pacquiao was getting too angry. I'm starting to see old Manny again now. Calm, chilled, collected. In their face-off, it was Thurman that looked angry and worried to me. Pacquiao, he looks like a man that doesn't want to talk. He looks like a man that wants to fight. What Keith Thurman has to understand is Pacquiao has seen it all. He's seen it all. Right? No question. There's nothing right now you can do to intimidate Manny Pacquiao. A shark in the ocean couldn't do it. So Keith Thurman, look at the guys Manny Pacquiao's fought. We know the 2009 to 2012 Manny Pacquiao, this is a warm-up fight for that version. He would dismantle Keith Thurman no matter what version we put out there, right? Pacquiao's main situation for me in this fight is the spacing. The closer to Keith Thurman, it's going to sound stupid, the better, right? The better. Because Keith Thurman starts sort of fast, throws punches, then when he realises he can't get the guy out of there, he goes into retreat mode these days. But Pacquiao has the feet and the speed to sort of, if not cut the ring off, to keep up with Thurman, to not let him get away. Lopez couldn't do that. He nearly did it in the 7th round and finished the job, but Pacquiao still has the foot speed, the hand speed, to make Thurman so concerned with what's coming his way that Thurman may be a little gun shy. But I'm not expecting Thurman to be gun shy early on. Also, Thurman is talking about fighting Manny Pacquiao close. He was mentioning Jeff Horn, that when Jeff Horn was close to Manny Pacquiao, that Manny Pacquiao wasn't doing anything. Did Keith Thurman see the state of Jeff Horn's face after that fight? Did Keith Thurman see the punch stats? Did Keith Thurman see that most people who are sane scored that fight for Manny Pacquiao? He's holding on to any hope. That worries me. Keith Thurman should be going in there just saying, look, this is me, and my style is good enough to beat yours. Never mind talking about this fight, that fight. You're not hearing Manny Pacquiao come out with these things. Manny Pacquiao is comfortable in his own skin. Thurman looks shook. He does, because the reality is starting to hit him. As I said, Father Time catches up, Keith Thurman wins. Right? People say, if Thurman wins, don't now bring up the excuse of old age. Of course you can bring up the excuse of old age. He's 40 years of age. Of course you should be allowed to use the excuse of old age in boxing when a guy is 10 years older than the other guy. Alright then, let's just say then Kovalev is a better all-round fighter than Hopkins because he beat him at 50. How pathetic. Of course he's not as good or as accomplished as Bernard Hopkins. Never will be. Keith Thurman won't be either. Keith Thurman even said, he made some sense at the end of that face-off. He said, whatever happens in this fight, Pacquiao will go in there great, he will leave there great. That is a fact. He's gone up 8 weight classes and won titles. Keith Thurman is a champion at 1 weight class. I mean, the fact that now Pacquiao is favourite just tells you about his greatness, right? Pacquiao is not a man that goes into boxing with the mindset of, I want to be undefeated. Pacquiao is a man that goes into a boxing ring thinking, I want to create history. And he has a chance to do it again. And I'm slightly tipping him at this point to do it again, right? But going back to Jeff Horn, Thurman may try and use Jeff Horn's rough tactics for a few rounds. Here's the thing though, Keith Thurman has more skill. Keith Thurman has a better jab. Keith Thurman for me is the more pound for pound, much higher caliber fighter. Is he as tough as Jeff Horn though? Is he as willing to go back in that fire time and time again taking a lot of punishment, like Horn did. Forget what Thurman said. Horn's face told the story. Took a lot of punishment. Keith Thurman was backtracking from Lopez, a guy I think Jeff Horn would stop right now in 8 rounds. I'm not sure if this version of Keith Thurman would have his own way with Jeff Horn right now. Jeff Horn knocked out recently Anthony Mundine. I know Anthony Mundine is old, but Jeff Horn knocked him out in 2 rounds, and Anthony Mundine has fought, past 154 pounds? You want to talk about one time? Watch that fight. Jeff Horn is a better fighter than people give him credit for. And he will take the rough with the smooth. He's a very dirty fighter. The fight was kind of reminiscent, in my view, of Marcus Maidana and Floyd Mayweather, the first one, right? But Chino Maidana, in that first fight, was willing to do things and stick to them. Go in that fire, and if you get burned, stay in there until you've a chance to burn the other guy. Take 2 punches to land your one. Be tenacious. That was Chino's game plan, and he stuck with that game plan throughout most of that fight. Of course, Juan Marquez is a better fighter than Chino Maidana, but he didn't do it against Floyd Mayweather. He didn't want to go in there and get busted up. Oh no, he wasn't going to go and take 2 punches to land one. He was looking for the perfect punch. He probably couldn't fight like Chino Maidana because that's what Chino Maidana does. And Keith Thurman really doesn't fight like Jeff Horn because that's what Jeff Horn does. Whether you rate Jeff Horn below Keith Thurman, which I think Keith Thurman on his best night is greater than Jeff Horn, but he's a different style. If Keith Thurman tries the Jeff Horn strategy, be right in Manny's face, taking punches to land one of yours, and hoping that the judges are giving you the credit rather than you being countered, Thurman might not be able to take the punishment Jeff Horn took. Don't forget, Jeff Horn had not had a 2-year layoff prior to fighting Manny Pacquiao. And I've seen some Jeff Horn fights before he fought Manny Pacquiao and after he fought Manny Pacquiao. Jeff Horn is accustomed to taking punishment. He is. That sounds stupid, but Jeff Horn is used to taking punishment. He took it in fights prior to Manny Pacquiao. He took the punishment in the Pacquiao fight. Gary Cochran, who Jeff Horn beat, was hitting Jeff Horn with this version of the kitchen sink. And Jeff Horn was just coming through it. Against Crawford, he took more or less 9 to 10 rounds of punishment. Until, in the end, the ref stopped it. But Horn would have carried on. Right? Can Keith Thurman do that? That's the question. Can he force the old man to work at a higher pace than the old man wants? It's easier said than done. I'm telling you. Because once Pacquiao lands, are we going to get the same back foot Keith Thurman? Right? So how does Keith Thurman deal with this? He's got to be sharp. He's got to be sharp with the jab. I'm not so sure that Keith Thurman needs to be getting in there close to Manny Pacquiao. Right? But he needs to be accurate. He needs to hit Manny in the early stages with something that makes Manny back off. So Keith Thurman can use his range and his footwork and his skills. If he is hitting air and not landing, and eventually, see, to me, Keith Thurman loses power the further a fight goes on. Less power in that right hand, right? That's why he's been winning decisions lately. But there's been about 3 close decisions on the bounce now. Is there a tipping point? Right? Is there a tipping point? Keith Thurman has to approach this fight in the first round as well as though it's any other fight. Right? You've done all your work in your training camp, hopefully. You should be in that ring now. Just be prepared. Don't be too nervous and burn that energy, because later on, you will be breathing. Nervous energy can sort of give you adrenaline early in a fight, right? You could be moving well, doing this, doing that, doing the other. Everything's functioning. But I've noticed when you train for a marathon, running the last training run, 21 miles, the training run is easier than the marathon, right? Because there is so much adrenaline. The occasion is massive. There's crowds everywhere, people cheering you on. You do things that you don't usually do. Like you see somebody cheer and then you start to run faster than you did in training. Thurman, when the occasion is here, has got to be the best Keith Thurman. But he's got to see Manny Pacquiao as a human being. He's looking up too much to Manny Pacquiao right now. Despite the bravado, scratch the surface, and he is looking up to Manny Pacquiao, right? He is seeing Manny Pacquiao right now as like a demigod, because if he didn't, he wouldn't be trying to insult him so much, right? This is really respect that Keith Thurman is showing right now, but it's too much. He needs to act more normal, and with normal behavior comes normal focus. He said something like, Jesus Christ left the earth and he rose again, but he never returned to the earth. Manny Pacquiao came back to boxing, but after this, he won't return to boxing, but he will rise again in politics. You're like, Keith, why are you saying these things? But anyway, I don't think his mind is in as great a place. Could be a ploy. Who knows? But what I'm seeing is a bit concerning from Keith Thurman. Can he win it? Yes. Has he got the power? Yes. If he lands the right shot, of course. He's got the youth. He's got the talent. You can't write off one-time Thurman. No doubt about it. He could pull it all together, and Manny could slightly still be on the slide and lose this fight. Right? But as I said, his jab's got to function. He's got to use that right hand well. It's got to be accurate. Another thing, Keith Thurman, when he gets excited, when he gets in trouble, he tends to swing. You can't waste that energy against Manny Pacquiao. The jab has got to be crucially effective. He has got to reset Manny Pacquiao, because Manny Pacquiao is one of the greatest rhythm fighters we've seen. The southpaw stance, though, Thurman has surely not got a sparring partner that will prepare him for this version of a southpaw. That is going to be a real issue. Thurman will face feet that are comparable with his. He will face hand speed that is comparable with his. Thurman talks about his boxing IQ, but like I say, Pacquiao has fought the best of IQs of his generation. Nothing will surprise him. The only thing, again, is can he physically still do what he does best, which is fight. I think Pacquiao needs to take the first round. He's in the United States. They're going to look for any excuse to give Keith Thurman these rounds, right? Pacquiao needs to go out there, be certain about what he's going to do, get close, fire to the body. Pacquiao can beat Keith Thurman up close. The left hook he's got to watch out for. The uppercut, he's got to pick his moments when he darts in, because Keith Thurman is a good... I don't think actually he is as good a counterpuncher as Adrian Broner, but he's actually more powerful than Adrian Broner. So when you leap in, it's double impact, right? You don't want to fall for that scenario. Feints are important, but if Pacquiao can take the first round, you're going to hear the crowd, Manny, 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 right? The first round in the Floyd Mayweather fight, the crowd went quiet after the second round. The second round started, and there was a sense of, this is a familiar Floyd Mayweather fight again. There was. Pacquiao and Mayweather sort of felt each other out for the first round. Just think, had Manny taken round one, we'd have gone into round 7, even. The fight would have been even, and you wouldn't have had a scorecard at the end of 8-4, which 2 judges had it. You'd have had a scorecard potentially of 7-5. That then would put the judges in a conundrum. Whether there's a swing round here, a swing round there. So Pacquiao has to bear that in mind. The experience in Australia. Jeff Horn probably took the first round, right? Then they were all getting up for Jeff Horn, seeing things that perhaps were not really there. Pacquiao won the majority of that fight, but it's about momentum of the occasion. Judges, I think, do get swayed by the occasion. And of course, you have to remember, as big a name as Manny is, they want an American all-clash. They want, if they can get it, Thurman and Spence, right? It's patriotism. So Pacquiao has to start fast. I think a fast start would surprise Thurman. I think Thurman is expecting Pacquiao to start slow. And if Pacquiao starts fast, Thurman will try and respond, and Manny, with his sharpness and quickness, can counter him. Right? I think that Manny's speed and awkwardness will negate some of what Keith Thurman does naturally. I think it's going to make Keith Thurman a bit more tentative than he usually is. So ultimately, what do I see happening? I see Pacquiao winning in my book, I see a unanimous decision, either 8-4 or 7-5, potentially with a knockdown. But I am also worried about the judges. I can't say that enough. Let's just say Pacquiao will win the event, right? With the knockdown, he may just scrape the decision from the judges. It will be a win. If you do the eye test, Pacquiao beats Thurman, in my opinion. Again, unless he gets old overnight. But I think we will see a Manny Pacquiao victory. But we also saw a Gennady Golovkin victory in the first fight with Canelo, didn't we? Arguably a victory even in the second. But it didn't go that way. But I can't control what the judges do. But I can control my own brain and my own eyesight. And I see Pacquiao surprising Keith Thurman. But Keith Thurman will not give up. And that will create a few close rounds. I think Pacquiao will get tagged a few times because he's aggressive. But the defensive skills of Manny will surprise Keith Thurman. And I see Keith Thurman throwing but missing a lot of shots. Landing some. Thurman being clearly hurt, but digging into that warriorness that he has and finishing the fight. I see him being dropped early, surprised actually. Something of that nature, right? But yeah, if there are rounds that Manny has only slightly won, expect them to either be scored even or the judges to give them to Keith Thurman. I see Thurman sort of matching up with Manny early, but getting clipped. And then going on the back foot. But usually Keith Thurman outboxes people on the back foot. He's going to be surprised at how much experience Manny has got with dealing with fighters on the back foot. The Adrian Broner fight actually was a good preparation, because that's all Adrian Broner did after so long. Right? The difference being is Thurman is open on the back foot. And he does tend to leave his head right in the air, especially when he's concerned. And he does sort of backtrack in straight lines, if that makes sense. And as I said, the punches get weaker as the rounds go on. They're even weaker when he's punching on the back foot, right? Good boxer on the back foot. I think Manny parries a lot of those shots on the back foot with his gloves. But the judges find a way to see that those punches landed when perhaps they really didn't. But ultimately, Thurman's downfall will be when they get in close corners, he doesn't hold. And Pacquiao is able to fire either to body or head, use combinations. And I'm expecting a good performance from Manny Pacquiao. I'm expecting... See, this is what... It makes you wonder, has Manny really just been doing enough recently? Has he been fighting fighters that he knows he can beat, right? Now he knows he's up against a live dog, right? One of the current best, right? So he's pulling out all the stops. But also I heard good things from Freddie Roach. He's only training for 4 days a week now. But those training sessions are the best they can get them. And he's getting his rest in now. But I'm seeing that, you see, sometimes all-time greats, this is what they do. The better their opponent, the better they raise the game. We could see a scenario where Pacquiao, all great old fighters have one last night in them. I think this could be it. I could be wrong. I'm prepared to be wrong. Right? There is a brave warrior in this fight. There is a man that deserves massive credit for this. It is Manny Pacquiao. I can't give Keith Thurman enough credit, to be honest with you. I can't really give him credit because the last two fights, he's fought a 40-year-old guy who's much smaller, which is Manny, and he's fought Lopez. I'm still disappointed that we're not talking about an Errol Spence-Thurman fight right now, right? All them shenanigans. I don't know the truth of the injuries. Maybe it was true. We'll never know. Well, I'll never know. Maybe you guys can sort of brief me on that. But you see, an older fighter can only get credit for fighting top young dogs. But we can't really ever give young dogs credit for fighting older fighters. And if Keith Thurman does get a lucky decision, he's not going to get any credit from it from the boxing fans. Look at Timothy Bradley. You know, nobody gave him credit. Timothy Bradley said himself he was walking around getting abuse, and it got to him psychologically. The way Keith Thurman gets credit is he has to destroy Manny Pacquiao in style in 4 rounds. That is perhaps the only way, but even then you could say, well, age made Manny Pacquiao more brittle, his feet have slowed, etc. But if this is remotely competitive, we know Pacquiao is the greater guy, and we know Thurman shouldn't really be blagging about beating a 40-year-old. But I think that 40-year-old is going to beat him, at least by the eye test, by a unanimous decision with a knockdown that then puts Thurman on the back foot for the rest of the fight. Well, Keith Thurman's probably finished strangling the Fight Hub guy right now. That was really... You tell me, that was concerning seeing him behave like that, right? He's usually a cool customer. He doesn't seem that cool right now. This is Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. It's Pac-Man from the win. I'm out, brother.